Hello and welcome back to episode 31 of the podcast, or the Reselling Podcast Ever. We haven't decided what the name's going to be called yet, but yeah, well, hopefully, fingers crossed, we've got it sorted before next week. But hello, Granny. Hello, Blake. How are you both?
Good morning.
Very well, thank you, Octo. Yourself? You look like you're in a very nice little place there.
Yeah, so that's right. And I've got my little bucket hat here as well. I'm trying to.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm disappearing. Jeez, I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm in Back to the Future. Someone's trying to go back and rewrite the history. I don't know. Maybe it is. But yes, no, I am quite relaxing on a desert island somewhere in the Mediterranean. So, or as you people like to call it, the Gold Coast. So, yes, but yes. So what's been new, Leanne, and what's been new, Blake?
What's been new for me? It's been bloody hot, I can tell you that much, in Donald. It's going to get to 34, I think, again today, but it's coolish now, so it's not too bad. But yeah, we've had a couple of hot days, and because we haven't been used to it, that's the biggest trouble. Like even Banana in pajamas has fallen over in the heat. Look at him in the background. But yeah, that's about the only exciting thing I can tell you. Although yes, I'm almost got a car, so that's new and exciting for me. It's on its way.
What about you, Blake?
Yeah, we're about to get blown away today. I think our greenhouse is flapping around like crazy. I think it's going to break. But yeah, we're going to get to a scorching hot of 24 today. But getting ready. We're going away as well Tuesday, I think. So it'll be nice. So
yeah, well, it's actually last week. That's actually last week when this episode comes out, because I'm sunbathing the tentacles on the banana hammock behind me. Where am I going? Over there.
In that case, then I had a great time away.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't know what happened, but I had a good time.
Well, that's right. Well, there's equal
and I just kept working.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's the theme of the episode. But I suppose like depending, there's an equal part that I ran into the Aussie flipper, and there's an equal part that I didn't run into the Aussie flipper. So. But hopefully it's the latter. But anyway, we'll see how we go. But so today's episode, we're going to talk a bit burnout. Not back from burnout. She's probably further down the chain of our topics. But yeah, no, we're going to talk about burnout. So obviously that what happens when you, I suppose, what would you class as burnout? I didn't even research the definition. I can't even speak.
Yeah, I kind of see it as like in the reselling world, like because. I mean, I've had a couple of times myself where, because everything, if you're doing it all the time and you're doing it sort of thinking about it 24 hours a day and doing it all the time, and you can go, and then you just get this day where you wake up and you just, like the thought of picking up that phone or going and turning your computer on is just like, I can't do it today. I just can't do it. Like, and yeah, you don't want to fall into that trap of getting to that point. Or especially if it's lasts longer than a day. I've had it for a day, but not longer generally.
Lucky. Yeah. I don't know. I'd say it's a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress that occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
With stomach issues as well, apparently, because I read the same definition when Leanne was doing it. But anyway, I suppose what we will prefix the episode with is that there's, I won't say 100% because there's a lot of resellers out there that I know that don't resell. they like the idea of reselling, but that's the extent of it goes. Yeah. But 99.9% of people that do this on a regular basis will burn out in some capacity. Yeah. Especially I personally found that I burnt out a lot quicker when I was doing my job as well, my full-time position. So yeah, when you put on reselling on top of that and all those different things as well, so you need to take that into consideration.
Well, that's interesting because I did wonder about that because I haven't done it part-time and had a job as well. I did wonder about that because I wondered whether having that time away from it and going and doing a physical job, whether that gave you like a time out from doing the reselling, but it doesn't, does it? Apparently.
No. What about you, Blake? Did you find that you burnt out or?
Yeah, I did, especially because I was working long shifts at work anyway. And then I'd come home and my free time was essentially working again. So apart from when I was sleeping or eating, I was working. and that kind of thing. And that's what it felt like. So I did get burnt out. But I mean, I've been burnt out working full time as well. So, I mean, doing it full time, it can be very demanding. And
and then I think I suppose we will touch on practices that I suppose I found, and Leanne and Blake to an extent as well, that assisted with the burnout and what you need to do from that. But what I found, going back to what Leanne was saying and Blake was saying as well regarding the full time stuff, is that I was working in a position where I was going hammer and tong from as soon as I got to the office and until I came home. Then you have irate people on eBay send you a message at 9:10 in the morning saying, "Oh, this is what's going on with this and all these different things." But I didn't have the focus to actually message them back, or didn't have the ability to message them back until after I was finished. And by that time, that you're dealing with a more irate person because they think you're ignoring them. Because for some reason, people just think that if you're on eBay, you should be have somewhat sort of a response within 3.5 minutes. But if you reach out to Amazon, or if you reach out to a different company, you probably wouldn't hear back for 3 or 4 days until So that's what I found.
And I think I've found that too, that people do expect that you're going to be there 24/7, and even like you can get a message at 10:30 at night and they're still expecting a response within an hour, and they don't stop and think that, well, maybe you're a person that works during the day on eBay and that you're actually stopped, and maybe you're in bed asleep by then. They don't.
Well, that's right.
And that's right. Sorry, that goes back to the whole thing which we have talked about before, where the buyers actually see us as eBay, the entity, not as an individual seller.
And I think it really depends where the buyer's location is as well, because I don't think, and what Leanne was saying then is that, if you're dealing with someone in America, or as I'm currently dealing with someone in Brazil at the moment, they send me like 16 messages a day asking the same question over and over again. So I'm getting burnt out on Google Translate. I can tell you that right now. But the fact of the matter is that because they're up and awake and all those different things, and I suppose that I'm guilty of this in part as well, is that time zones melt away. They just automatically, time zones go to the back of their mind. If they're messaging eBay, like you said, Leanne, they expect a response within half an hour, 45 minutes at the worst case scenario. But then then when you get back to them 8 hours later, from all those different things. And I suppose before I go into it and before I forget about it, is what I do to circumvent that is I put in a automatic response on my messaging system. So when people message me, they get an automatic response saying, "Hey, look, this is my work hours. This is what I expect a response within a certain period of time." So,
it's almost like they think you're basically a live chat service, because you're directly messaging the seller or whatever. It's almost like, okay, this is a live chat, like that.
Well, and I think that's a contributing factor to for burnout. What I also found as well, working full time, is that the mentality that you watch like Daily Refinement, you watch Tech and Sports and all these different channels and all those different things saying, "Hey, look, you need to put in X amount of items into your store a day," to all these different things, to get the algorithm moving and all these different things. When you're working full time, you don't have the time to drop everything and do a thrift run, or you don't have the time to do a Facebook Marketplace run, all those different things. So I suppose a death poll as such would help in that situation, or you're scheduling listings. But once if you're not into a routine, that it can obviously compound and all these different things going on. So
no, I agree. I think one of the things I found, because I did get into that mentality, especially at the start of doing it. I loved it. I love doing it so much that at the start it's exciting and you're getting into it and you're doing it 24 hours a day. But apart from when you're asleep, and I was even eating my meals at my desk. That was easy because I'm the only person in the house, so I can do what I want really, and not having a breakaway. And then I think the first time I actually realised how I guess damaging that was for me. And this is before I sort of started my YouTube side of things, where I was getting that social interaction with other people, was when I went down to my best friend's daughter's 18th birthday party in Melbourne, and I went for the weekend, and I basically had to stop eBay. It was actually hard to turn it off, hard to not look into it. But at the end of the weekend, after I'd had this really great weekend, I thought, wow, you really need to do that more, because I came back on the Monday quite looking forward to getting back into it again, but perhaps making sure that I was taking those breaks.
Yeah, and I think, what I think with eBay is people become indoctrinated into it, right? Like, it's almost like it's a cult among itself. Yeah, like that's my favorite word. But, it's almost, like where I've seen numerous times, and a lot of YouTubers, I think that they're probably to blame for this mentality, is it's like, hey, look, quit your job, go full time and sell on eBay. And I want to sell eBay for the rest of my life because I love eBay and all those different things. People fall into that mentality, and it's no different to working a full-time job, right? Like, you still have a boss. Your boss is eBay. Like I said in last week's episode, is that you need to start branching out, start building advertising, start building, alternative sources of income, like, your own website and stuff like that. Then that's when you truly, I suppose, in part become your own boss. You're not answering to eBay. You're not having to deal with the specifications. Like, yes, you will get burnt out, right? Like, there's no that, like I said, with the exception of you probably going to the thrift store once and buying something for overpriced for $30 that sells for $10 on eBay, in classing yourself as a reseller, you probably won't get burnt out then. But if you're doing it on a daily basis, and the amount of people I've seen that I'm a reseller, and it's like, okay, what did you sell? I just started today. Like, all right. There's nothing against that, but like I said, if you're doing it on a regular basis, you start there we go, look at that English. You will start to start falling over. Like what Blake was saying, you get fatigue, you start getting more and more sick, like all these different things. That the probably part of the reason you left your workplace was because it's a toxic environment. That you're overworked, underutilized, underpaid, and all those different things. But eBay is no different. Like that. Unless if you're working 9 to 5, you might get just say $1,000 a week, but you're not guaranteed. You could be working 14, 16, 18, 20 hours a day on eBay, you're not guaranteed $1,000 a week.
Yeah.
So and that contributes to your burnout, because where you had a stable income, now you're quite fluctuant. Like I had a $1,400 day a couple of days ago. Now I've only had a $56 day yesterday. So there's no consistency across the board.
And I think that's probably one of the big issues with, an issue I find with eBay, in that, like, you can, and which contributes to that stress and that, as you say, getting into a burnout situation, because you can have days which seem pretty consistent. You can go for 3 or 4 days and have, like, say, maybe in my case, $300 days, 4 of them in a row, and you're thinking, oh, well, I'm there, I'm actually at a good spot, and then all of a sudden you get a $25 day or a donut day, and like the actual impact to you when you get that low day is like, it's hard, bloody hard,
and especially a few days in a row. It's just
and I was just going to say is that you find it on the Facebook groups, that I've been trawling along myself, getting those questions by Octo shorts in the afternoon. But you find it's like, hey, look, I didn't have any sales today and tomorrow, or today and yesterday. I've reached out to customer service to see what's going on with my store, and it's like they've got no idea. And those kind of people, and like I said, there's nothing against them. I'm not picking on anyone, but they're the kind of people who will burn out very quickly, because they're expending all their energy into wondering what's going wrong, into try rectifying, hey, look, well, obviously, if I'm selling $3 DVDs with free postage, or, I'm selling, FIFA 06 on the PlayStation 3 where there's 4,000 copies and they can't even give them away for free. These are the things that they need to look at, all those different things, because, once they keep bottling themselves up and freaking out, going to Facebook groups, which is not necessarily the best place to start. Like, I don't have all those different things, but the fact of the matter is that you should have some sort of grasp over your own business before going to to Facebook groups. Like, I actually went into one this morning, and there's a question asked that's saying, where do I source products from? It's just one of those things. But like I was saying, going back to that burnout thing, is that people like that will either have a very short reselling career because they'll just find it too hard and they'll move on. And I'll be quite curious to see if these people are in the group in the next couple of months. Alternatively, they'll burn out very quickly because all the stresses are bundling up, because quite possibly, that I know, our beloved Graham jokes all the time that he's, put, $10,000 of Skylanders on a credit card. But people will do that, though, that they probably will, use a line of credit to buy all this product, thinking, well, I've been watching Grumpy Granny, I've been watching the Octopus and Blake. This stuff sells very quickly. He's sold a Skylander for $400. Yeah, I'll be able to move out this pretty quickly. When things don't sell, then the payments are due. That's more compounding stress on them. Then obviously burnout starts creeping in closer and closer. So
yeah,
it's a very real thing. You got to sort of manage your expectations too. Like, just don't expect to jump into it straight away and become a gazillionaire like all these YouTubers that are making, I don't want to say it is necessarily, but I mean, making $100,000 on eBay isn't necessarily as hard as making $100,000 in a real job. But people don't say that, like, oh yeah, I make $100,000, but I've got a 25% or 30% profit margin. So really, they're only making $25,000 to $30,000 a year. So, which isn't that good, really, like in terms of a normal income. And people are expected to make all this money, and when they don't see that rushing through the door in their first 10 items or first 1,000 items and stuff like that, they start to think, oh God, like, what's the point or whatever. And like I say, they'll either burn out and quit, or burn out and just get too stressed, and then, like you say, take out a line of credit and go into all this debt and make silly decisions and stuff like that, which you'll end up in the same position anyway, except you'll have $5,000-$10,000 of debt to your name when you finish. So.
Yeah, and it's almost hard because when you do first start out, I mean, the algorithm, obviously, a new seller pushes their stuff up so they get those first few sales to get them going. And so you get all excited and think, oh, great, I'm getting all these sales. This is great. I'll sell stuff. And then after that, you fall off the face of the earth as far as the algorithm goes. And if in that time, after you've had those first few sales, like I really think it was about a 2-week period I felt at the start that my stuff was getting pushed up. And then after that, but in that 2 weeks, I could have thought, well, this is going great. I'm going to go and take my credit card and go down and buy a heap more stuff. But, look, luckily I didn't.
I'd be quite curious to see the legality of that, because it's almost like professional gambling, isn't it? That the house always wins, right? Like eBay controls everything. And that goes back. And I think a lot that's brushed over a lot, right? But the fact of the matter is that the way that I see it, and this might necessarily be correct, but there's a lot of smarter people than me out there, is that the algorithm is almost set up to pay out, kind of like almost have that dopamine hit for you to get addicted into the mentality. Because if you list something on eBay and it doesn't sell, the likelihood of you coming back to eBay is non-existent, right? But if they give you a quick sale, or they push that item out there and get a sale, you're going to come back as a buyer and a seller. So eBay is retaining that from both sides. So they're getting your fees from buying, and they're also getting your fees from selling. So and that's like Granny was saying, is that unless you keep feeding the beast with quality items, and you're not going to sell things. And I know a lot of people, and we're talking about a video that came out recently with another YouTube seller who was telling you to go out and buy things recklessly, I suppose, for lack of a better term. And it's going to be like I said, that everyone knows my stance on that. And I think I've made a couple of enemies in the YouTube world, because I suppose I try and keep people to account. It feeds the beast, right? Like, you're going to have that burnout, all these different things. And I think finance is probably a biggest contributor to burnout for myself. I think that would be the leading factor, is because people, like Blake was saying, is trying to get rich quick. So I'll do this. I'll go spend $15,000 on a credit card. Like, I'll buy $15,000 of FIFA 06 on the PS3 because they're selling for $10 on eBay. That means I'll get a lot of money back, pay off the credit card in a month, and I'll be rolling the cash. I can go visit Fiji like I'm at the moment. But it's not the way it works. But
that's not. No,
that would be ideal if that worked that way, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I'm sure wish it did.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that initial push with the algorithm, you're right, it gets the dopamine going. You think, this is great, I'll keep coming back. But, in that initial period, unless you're someone that's actually done your homework beforehand and you're a new seller, you've got no idea about promotions. You've got no idea about, titles, filling out each item specific. And if you're copying someone else's listing to do your listing, which we all probably do at the start anyway, something similar, and that person is someone that doesn't fill out item specifics or have a good title, like, it just exactly. Like you are, it's kind of it's very hard at the start, and I think, well, look, you want to keep good sellers in, and if it's someone, you hope that if it's someone that shouldn't be selling, that they will fall off, I guess. But
yeah, and you will find that just say hypothetically, and I don't know the statistics, and I'd be quite interested, but like I said, when I used to sell Lego, we used to have like a group. I suppose a members only Lego page, right? And every year we used to have say 10 people rock in. By April, that's so in January 10 people would join. By April, there's only one left. So that goes to show you the success rate of that, because they all came in because they thought, oh well, I've seen on the news that selling Legos worth more than gold and all these different things, and they didn't realize that there was like a longevity thing. Like Lego doesn't appreciate for maybe a couple of years after it sells out, and that's only if Lego doesn't re-release the set, which they're prone to do. So you kind of need to look for those obscure things. But and I find the same with reselling, is that people just go to the thrift store and grab $4 books, or they grab $40 pair of sneakers and all these different things, or shirts or DVDs and all these different things without doing the research. And like we said before, you need to do the research in store. Don't take it home. You can't return it. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah. And I think the big thing too is with people, coming into the whole thing, is a lot of people's first, I know it was for me, that their first exposure to reselling will be on YouTube, right? Where they see a video of someone thrifting. Oh, this is going to be worth $20. This is worth $60. And people are like, oh, that is so easy. And I kind of think, I'm going to go do that myself. But reselling is, in reality, it's hard. It is hard. Of course, once you get the systems in place, it gets easier.
Yeah.
But even then, you put hours and hours and hours in every single day to make the business work. So, I mean, it's hard work. It's not just a matter of, I'll spend 5 minutes going into an op shop, bring out $1,000 worth of stuff, go home, list it. Next day, I'll be, I'll have $1,000. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that.
When people have that opinion of it and see that sort of content, they're going to, expect that. And then when it doesn't happen, they'll probably just go up in arms and quit, or they'll just get sick and tired of it real quick.
I'm quite curious to get both your opinions, but I think people come into reselling due to desperation, right? So finance is probably the reason that either they need more money or they want more money. So I'm not saying that they're all destitute and they're all up to their eyeballs with for debt, but they see reselling as a get rich quick scheme, right? And I was the same. That I came into Lego because I thought, well, I stumbled across a post saying this guy used to collect Lego sets and sell them. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, because I kind of like the collecting aspect. I'm a bit one of those weird octopuses. I actually prefer to collect the box opposed to build the Lego. So then, if I could collect the box and have the visual appeasement of having the box up there and look nice, then in 12 months' time I can sell it for times and a half or 2 times what I'm paying for it. I was happy with that. And I think, like Blake was saying, is that they stumble across YouTube first, where I didn't find YouTube till about 4 or 5 years after I actually started reselling. So, but with what my expectations is that it's a little bit different, and I'll get your opinion in a second, Leanne, is that I did a lot of research at the start, because, like I said, I just stumbled across a post in a finance group in our work folders. And then I did research about the Lego and all these different things, so what to look for and all those different things. I didn't actually go to a YouTuber where they're like, hey, buy a pallet full of TV remotes for $100 and they sell for $15,000 or something along the lines of that. There's almost like you're hooking people in. It's almost like, hey, look, you do this, and then there's almost that contractual thing. It's like, hey, if I give Leanne $100 for all these TV remotes, I'm almost guaranteed $15,000. And it's like, well, you are, but what's the sell-through rate is? And then not a lot of people, and it might be different now, because I think a lot of new YouTubers coming through, they are a bit more transparent than the ones I originally watched, is that they're saying, hey, look, you spend $100 on these remotes, but it may take you 360 years to get your $15,000 return on investment. It's not, But what about you?
Well, I kind of feel like there's 2 different sorts of, I mean, I fell into, I kind of got pushed into it by myself, out of desperation financially, which I've told the story about before. But I think there's 2 different types of resellers. I think there are those that come into it with financial desperation. And then I think the second category of people is there that do think that they can actually make extra income, maybe pay the house off quicker or something like that. They're not desperate, but they would like to do better. And so you've got those two different types of people. But I guess the biggest issue for me that I see for new people coming in is my tack was different. Even though I was in that financial situation where I needed to make money, I also was a bit wary about going in and starting something that mightn't work out. So that's why I had already done a lot of research, and I had watched a lot of YouTube, and I'd learned a lot about the platform before I actually started selling on it. And then even when I made the account, I think I made the account in maybe mid-January or something, and it was another couple of weeks before I actually posted something on there, because I read all the stuff on the actual platform so that I knew basically how to list something before I actually did start to do it. So there is a difference with that, because most people will just decide today I'm going to do it. By tonight they've listed something.
I was no different, right? When I first started, I literally read that post because I was at university at the time, and and I think I've told you before, is that I started the business because I had to write my uni course. So I had to do a fictional business. So I thought, what better way to just do a real thing and report back on the pitfalls. But then I slithered down to Toys R Us when it was open back in 2014 and bought my first Lego set. But back then you could name your price and it would sell. So there was no promoted listings. There was no complicated, all these different things. PayPal was easy. Just basically you got paid instantaneous. You sell it on eBay, went to your PayPal account, rinse and repeat. But the shock came back, and it doesn't affect new resellers these days, is that your fees would come out once a month. So you didn't pay your fees pro rata like you do now. So once you sell an item that comes out of your funds, then off you go. You're happy to go. But back then, a lot of people that I spoke to, they fell into the trap. They were selling $40,000-$50,000 worth of Lego a month. And going back to what Blake was saying, is that the profit margin is probably about 15-20% back then, and people were happy with that. Then on the 15th of the month, they'd get hit with a $6,000 eBay bill. Wow. they didn't have the money because, and that would contribute to people falling off, contributing to burnout and all these different things. Because burnout is not a new thing in the reselling space, right? It happens, even back then, me doing university for 16 hours a week. That was my main job because I was put through the company to do university. I was getting burnt out doing reselling plus a 16-hour job, which all was just study. So these are the things you need to look out for, like fatigue and illnesses, apparently stomach cramps, but according to the list. But all these different things, and that you might be really on edge, you might be cranky easily, and all these different things. You need to. And I suppose what I want to look at now, Lee, is what if you've been burnt out, and I'm pretty sure you have, and Blake as well, is what you've actually done to alleviate that, or what you've actually done to come off that burnout high, I suppose. What would you have done for that?
Well, I think number one is that realizing that it is okay to have some time away, and it is okay to put your store in timeout. And even though your store takes a hit when it's coming back out of timeout, the benefits that you get from actually taking the time away is overrides that, I think. I mean, you've just got to be, if you're doing it as a full-time thing, I think you just have to make sure you've got enough funds to cover yourself and your expenses during that time away, so that you're not, hopeful that you're still going to be getting sales is what I'm trying to say, and getting income in during that time. But that's my number one. But I think the second thing that I would say before you get to that point where you actually need to take a holiday is that make sure that every day that you are taking time away from doing eBay stuff, so that you've got, don't spend every spare second you've got doing it. Have some time, different when you've got a family, because you're kind of forced into actually spending some time with the family, aren't you, really? When you've got little minions and you've got to, deal with those on school holidays. Fun. But especially for the people that are on their own, I think it's harder because you're here, you're on your own, so it's much easier to spend the whole time doing it. But I think it's important to actually make sure you get up from the desk and you actually go off and do something else, whether it's watching some TV, whether it's doing a jigsaw puzzle, learning to play the piano, do something else
Yeah, well, just before I get to Blake, and because obviously, I'm going to ask him next, but I just come to a realization. We've got 3 different groups in here. So we've got Blake down there. Look at my arm. I'll lose my arm again. Back to the Future. It's only him and his partner. Grumpy Granny, is by herself. And, me being a handsome octopus. It's, 3 different demographics of resellers here. So, I've got a family.
True.
Grumpy Granny lives by herself. And, Blake's with his partner, so he doesn't have any kids. But, like different factors affected separately, because like Leanne was saying, is that being by yourself, you're going to work till the cows come home and you're just going to keep punching it out. But what about you, Blake? Does your partner have a go at you? Does Lisa go mad? I was going to call her Rachel again then.
No. Oh god, don't tell her about my other one. No.
Losing track of them. The moustache is bullying them all.
No, they're everywhere, aren't they? Yeah, like I guess. Like, well, we live together and stuff. We do a fair bit together, but she's always working too. So, I mean, I can more relate to Leanne in a way, I guess, because I do it alone a lot. But I mean,
I'm reselling, mate.
Yeah. Either works. No, like I get burnt out myself too, because but I'm naturally a very introverted guy, so it doesn't worry me being by myself. I love it actually. But like I do get burnt out, and I've made a few videos myself just about, how I sort of deal with it. But for me, what I was doing when I was getting burnt out is, my biggest thing is photos. I get burnt out doing photos because I don't enjoy it at all. But what I do is like, all right, I get up in the morning, I feel like I just don't want to do this today. Like, what's the point? Like, kind of thing. Like, it's sometimes I'll get like that. And then I'll be like, nah, screw it. I'll just get up and do it. Once I start doing it, it's usually okay. But over time, if I just push through it and do that, it'll compound. And then I'll get into, a week into it where I really didn't want to do it. And then I'm absolutely like just totally stuffed for a couple of days. Like I just won't do anything. And then the business will suffer for that. But what I've started doing that works for me is like, if I'm not feeling it, I'll take the morning off and I'll go for a nice long walk or something. And I'll sort of almost reflect in a way and just think, the kind of jobs that I did have and that kind of thing. But I'll also think about like where reselling can get me and where it has got me so far. And sort of if I put it into that, well, like I'm not reselling just to be a reseller. I'm reselling to build a future for me and, my future family and stuff like that. So if I put it into that, by the time I get home, I'm actually super motivated to go back and do that work. So it's just taking a bit of time away and thinking about why you're actually doing what you're doing. And sort of where it can take you and where it has already taken you if you've been in it for a while. That's the big thing for me that's really helped me sort of get out of a ditch.
Some octopuses are, it's probably more successful than Blake sitting in his little white room with no stuff. But look at my pretty background, like. But yeah, like I suppose that, and burnout. I suppose what I found as well is that burnout doesn't just affect you as the reseller, right? Especially in my situation with the family. That if I suffer from it, right? Like I don't know if I'm undiagnosed ADHD because that's the buzzword at the moment. Like everyone's favorite buzzword, but I basically
takes one to know one.
I focus myself, solely on eBay, right? And I'll sit at the computer all day, just tinkering around with eBay and all those different things. Yeah, just laser focused.
Yeah.
And then I neglect Mrs. Octopus. Then she's having to deal with the kids and all these different things. So then she starts getting like irritable and all these different things. So then she almost becomes burnt out by only, like, I suppose, being a single parent, because if you're working a 9 to 5 job, you just with the exception of some jobs, you finish at 5 o'clock, go home, and that's it. The time's your own, and you can build from family thing. But running a business is that it's almost like a full-time endeavor. At the start, you're really doing. You're almost like punching out 20-hour days just to get the business built up, your cash flow built up, and all these.
Don't have time for much else.
Yeah, well, that's right, and a lot of people.
And you're so slow at doing things because you're still learning the processes too. That's.
Oh, I thought you were talking about your age.
I was going to make a sign, but then I thought perhaps I better not.
Oh, that's right, because we might get burnt out.
Yes,
but Leanne's correct. Like what takes us probably about 2 or 3 minutes now at the start, it would have taken me, 40, 50 minutes because, I'll go back to Lego, right? Like, people like Lego collectors are more obsessive than Funko Pop collectors, right? Like their boxes have to be pristine. So I would spend 20 minutes taking, photos of the tiniest like imperfection in boxes, which people don't care about, right? Like that, Lego collectors might be 1% of your market. So here I am, trying to, cater for 1% of the market where it's only, Leanne buying for her grandkids or Blake building, the Lego himself. He doesn't particularly care if the box has got like a slight rub mark on a corner or something along the lines of that. So going back to what Leanne was saying is you need to do your research and say, hey, well, look, if I buy this, what's my target? If you're buying Funko Pops, you're screwed because everyone's collecting Funko Pops, right? Like, and they're all collecting it for investment. They'll tell you otherwise. I collect it because I enjoy it. No, they're not. They're hoping it go up in investment tool. But they want the box. Regardless if they're collectors or otherwise, they want the box perfect. So, so these are the things.
Look, I was the same with books too, though. When I started, I because you're thinking I have to show every little thing and. Back then, you could only do 12 photos. So I'm trying to work out how I can, with some books, how I can work out how can I get all the photos of the things in. And that caused I had a pile of books that I put aside because I couldn't take enough photos to show what the condition of the book was. And, or even if you've got a decent book, you're trying to find it used to take me ages flicking through to find the best looking page or the best looking picture that I could take a photo of to include. And, I no longer do that. Now it's just wherever it lands. That's what I take a photo of.
Well, funny you should say books is because I actually had someone reach out to me like probably 12 to 18 months ago. I don't even know how we got into it, like this topic, but they were asking me that if they should read the page before they put it on eBay, because I think they were selling like 50 Shades of Grey or something. And they opened a book up, they opened a page up, and it was like quite risque or quite raunchy. And then someone reached out to them and said, "Hey, look, I don't think it's appropriate that you put this on eBay. Like, there's a photo thing and all these different things." It's like, what? Like, you're overthinking these things. Like, take a photo of the title page if you want to show the condition of the pages or something like this. Just don't. Especially like I suppose books like that. Some people are after that, and some people are. I don't know what you would expect if you're looking at a 50 Shades of Grey listing. Oh no, what's that word? You're looking.
Well, I will say. So I had a book called Confessions of a Porn Star, and it was basically an autobiography. And
I wrote that.
Yeah,
I was about to say, look at Blake's.
Yeah, and I did my usual. I've just flicked through and just took pictures of, I wasn't even taking any notice. But my original post for that got pulled down because obviously one of the pictures that I'd taken a picture of had a little bit of top nudity in it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even notice. I was so quick taking my photos, didn't even notice.
That's right.
Yeah.
But like I said, this person reached out because they were horrified. And I was kind of thinking to myself, well, as a buyer, if you're looking at, purchasing 50 Shades of Grey, there's a good chance you probably know what the content of the book is, right? Like, but I don't know. For the first time in my life, Leanne, I was speechless. I didn't know how to respond to this person. It's just like, take a photo of the title page. It's not rocket science.
Wow.
Don't overthink it. But like with people with textbooks and all these different things, there's highlighter in there. Do I have to, photograph every bit of highlighter in the book? Just put in the description field. It was a previously used textbook. There may be highlighter present, and price accordingly. Don't overthink these things.
That's right. If you've got room with your photos, take a photo of one of the pages with highlighter in it, and just say that in your description, you say that continues through the book. Easy.
Yeah. But I suppose Blake as well. Selling primarily clothes. Did you fall into that trap where you're probably trying to oversaturate what the garment is? I suppose. Yeah.
I still do because it depends really. Like, I'm not too fussy overall, but I am because I've been, you get some buyers that are just, if I've been burnt a few times. But for me, for the most part with clothing, you take a main profile picture, and you got maybe the back pockets and stuff. You got your measurements, and then, the back of the garment. So you got for the most part, you could probably get away with 6 photos and stuff. But if it's got flaws and imperfections, I use up, as many photos as I can just to take the photos of those little things. But if I don't, I've just got basically a pre-populated description, just being it's a pre-owned garment with light signs of wear throughout. I've got that. But then if there is things, I'll just say this garment has numerous marks throughout or something like that, and then take a photo of a few of them and stuff like that. And look, if it's too bad, most of the time you can tell from the other photos anyway. But yeah, I still do point out as much as I can. That's probably why I don't sell stuff, because it looks like I sell a pile of junk. But but I'd rather that than a buyer to buy something thinking they're getting something that's not as it is. So
but I suppose the next question is, how do you explain your 23% feedback score?
23%. Well, look, that's what I first started out.
That's right. So, no, but the thing is, so I've done the same thing with clothes, right? But going back to what Granny was saying earlier is, bouncing off other people's listings. I know I'm going to probably tell you that you shouldn't do that, but I'll be lying if I tell you I don't do that. I still do that today. Like if I've got it in my own store where I've actually created the listing myself. But more often than not, it's better just to use sell similar and just fix up the listing. It's a lot quicker. But just go off a reputable person. Don't go off someone with like 13% feedback or 13% positive feedback and bounce off their listings, because you're probably in a world of hurt. But if it's a major competitor, like if Funko Pop's in there, if you're number 3 and they're number 1 in that metrics that everyone keeps talking about, there's a good chance you could probably sell similar off their listings. You're not going to go wrong. But
whereas I've still got, and I know, and I keep. Every time I see them, I just skip over them because I can't be bothered dealing with them. I've got 2 listings at the moment that really badly need to be fixed because I copied the original listings, and they are for plush toys, but that person listed them in the figure category, collectible figures. They're not actually collectible figures, they're plushes. But the problem is, it's not like going, if I swap it from one category to another, it's the item specifics don't transfer over. So I need to, make sure that I've got all the information I need to transfer them over. And it's just time consuming. And every time I see them, I go, just let it go.
I suppose I'll give you something for free here. In that situation that Leanne's done there, I would probably either go and find a listing with those plush, if they exist, and sell similar off a different listing. Or alternatively, just create one from scratch. But having said that, but having said that, there's actually like plush that I've got actually got in the action figure category, because they fall into that, or anime, that octopus that you've probably seen in the video that I did last night, that's an anime character, right? So if I put it in plush, there's a better chance of it selling if it was in anime or animation or all that category from those different things. So it really depends on like if it's just a plush banana and pajama, it's probably plush would be the better place for it.
Yes,
but you could
it's
go
something similar to a banana and pajamas. Say but there weren't. That was the only listing, other listing for those particular ones that I could find at the time. So I just copied them. But I have to fix those.
But do you find that what helped you with your burnout, Blake? Did you do anything in particular? What I suppose to prevent it from happening again is probably what I'm leading into.
Yeah, so I was shocking, for going hell for leather. If I had a goal of doing a certain amount per day, I would make sure I do that no matter what. And, if I didn't do it by 9 o'clock at night, I'd be stressing out, and then I'd go and have to do 30 listings at 9 o'clock at night, and I wouldn't go to bed till 2 in the morning sort of thing. And that's sort of where I got really burnt out. But what I started doing is I batched things a little bit better. So I get spurts where I'll get really motivated on certain days. And, that usually happens 2 or 3 times a week. And if that's the case and I'm on one of those days, I don't recommend this for everyone, but if I've still got a listing goal or whatever, I'll bust out, say, 60, 90 or 120 listings in a day and schedule it out across that whole week or whatever, so that I can have a few days, almost like a few days off kind of thing. So I'll sort of plan, or if I could feel myself sort of starting to get a little bit burnt out, I'll plan ahead and do a little bit extra that day so that I can take that next day off or something like that, just so that I can, I guess, just managing my time better is my main thing that I do now, just to prevent that. But, for me now, it could be, as simple as, like I say, going for a walk or something like that does sort of get me out of it. And I just, I reflect. I'm one of those guys that just reflect on, where it's getting me, and that's sort of how I deal with it. But I think time management's probably the biggest thing. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to, I have to do this much these days or whatever. Like if you have a 30-a-day listing goal and you can only get 20 done for that one day of the week, it's not going to kill your store.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not going to be the end of the world. You'll be fine.
And I think also, like, I think scheduled listings are a fantastic thing, and they've really helped me. So I've got scheduled listings, but I've got a new process which anyone that wants to watch it can watch it on my Grumpy Granny's channel. There's a little nugget about it, but
it's a weekly plug.
Yeah, kind of. But one of the things that people used to say to me when I used to say about doing scheduled listings is that, but you want your new stuff. Like, I don't want to leave it scheduled and come up in 3 days time or 10 days time. I want that stuff up now. And we all do that. So my way of doing the scheduled listings is to actually do them from old items that I've got listed in my store. Yeah. So, but the fact remains that I've still got items coming live every day. So even if I don't get around to doing some new listings, they are still going live. So I don't have to stress. So if I'm not feeling well in the morning and I want to stay in bed all day, I can, because I can just say, or if I want to go out for coffee with someone, I don't have to stress because those listings are going live. And so I think it allows you that bit of freedom to actually, not actually have to be there and physically do it. The other thing I will say is that I've taken a different tack too with, I always had a number goal that I had, a number of listings that I had to get done, have to get that amount of done. And whilst I have a number of live scheduled listings going live, when I am doing my other stuff, it's more like I want to get this much worth of dollars listed as opposed to
quantity.
Quantity. Quality over quantity.
Yeah. That's right. And I suppose Leanne's hit the nail on the head. I don't really subscribe to the scheduled listing. So I suppose it's good that we've all got different systems in place to try and circumvent it, because, and I hate to tell you, especially if you're new to reselling, not one YouTuber has all the answers. You hear one person say, hey, look, I figured out the algorithm and this is how it is. Then you'll listen to Granny and she's like, hey, I've worked out the algorithm and this is how it is. And it's completely different, right? Like, so, kind of work out which person more aligns to what you want to do and all those different things. But what they both said is that processes and procedures, and that's probably the best thing for alleviating burnout, right? And don't subscribe to this hey, you need to do a 30-day goal, and I think for me the biggest cause of burnout, and especially the numerous times I've been burnt out, you don't get burnt out once and you never get burnt out again. You get burnt out 16 times in a day. You keep going. The fact of the matter is that when I watch YouTube videos, I kind of fall into the trap sometimes, like romanticize about, hey, look, if I do 30 listings a day and sell 14 for $20 profit, I'll make $100,000 a year and all those different things. So you get motivated with that, right? So then you start making stupid decisions and all those different things. But the fact of the matter is, you need your processes, you need procedures in place and all these different things. Write them down, and write them down and say, hey, look, I'm going away for a week to Fiji, as like I am now. If you've got someone that works with you or something like that, write them down and hand them across to the person. They could take care of postage. Flip them $100 a week and say, hey, look, I'm going away for a week. Can you take care of my postage? And here's my list of things and how to do it and all these different things. So you've got that backup as to like it's written on paper. Make sure it's legible and make sure it's typed because people can't read people's writing and all these different things. But like I said, that I employ my parents. That I gave them a weekly wage to take care of postage and all these different things. And I just said, I've even gone as far as to teach them how to print the labels out, because before I had to print out the labels myself and, do the labels up and send it to them in an email. But I was finding that I was becoming burnt out with that as well, because I'd either miss one or get, sidetracked and do something else, then, forget to send them a label or send them two labels or send the same person. But now that she does it herself, I've never had an issue since. And, that's one less thing I have to worry about, because it's time constraint, because I want to get to the post office before a certain time. So there's also that, you don't have to, if you've got kids, enslave them like, the Commonwealth Picker does, just get them to do things and all these different things. But I think processes and procedures are the best place. Stay away from people that spruik, you need to do these goals, like New Year's Eve goals. Like people give up on New Year goals because they probably get burnt out. Like, I'm going to start eating healthy, or I'm going to start fasting, or I'm going to go running, or I'm going to do list 30 items a day, and all these different things.
You picking on me?
Yeah, I am. But the thing is,
a bit like that.
yeah, no, but what I'm saying is, like, I'm not so, like, but it's a difference between telling people that, too fast and doing fasting yourself, right? I'm not having to go at you or anyone else behind, like, that wants to block me. But what it comes down to is that, you need to work out what you're comfortable with and what's within the realms of possibility for you. Like, Page 1 Foot Flipper, for example, the poor guy's only got one leg, which is pretty self-explanatory through his YouTube name. But what he can achieve compared to what Leanne or Blake could achieve is completely different. If we said to him, you need to do 40 listings a day and go for a marathon every day, the poor guy wouldn't be able to achieve it. He'll burn himself out trying to do it. Yeah. But on the flip side, he could probably do a lot more things because, I'm not saying he's not expending as much energy, but he could probably work longer because, he's quite within his realm and everything's within his space, all those different things. So
he's adapted things for him, to work for him. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's focusing on other things as well. But the fact of the matter is, just do what's comfortable for you. Like, don't start reselling. Or if you're an established reseller as well, just don't start watching YouTube channels and, hey, look, new me, I'm going to do 50 listings a day. And I have fallen into that category before. Like, I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't say I was. But like I said, I get burnt out. I get, Mrs. Octopus goes mad at me for not, spending time. And all these different things. So you need to be very, very considerate of not only your own time, but the times of other people you deal with in your life as well. Mm-hmm. And like Leanne, she's still responsible to her kids and to her grandkids and her friends as well. So regardless of her living by herself, she still needs to get out and build on those relationships. So.
Yeah. And I also think, I also think when you get into that trap of trying to do X amount of listings a day, especially if you're going for a bigger number, and this is where I fell over a little bit because I was doing DVDs at the time, was that trying to get that larger number of listings, DVDs are easy to list. So I was listing bulk amount of DVDs to get to my goal, but that was shit DVDs. And now I don't do DVDs anymore. So,
And I think the biggest thing is, like, over time you'll learn what processes to build on and what not to, because, like, there's going to be things that you do that irk you and that really, and like, if you're working in an environment that frustrates you, you're going to get burnt out. Like, for me, the most recent thing I did, which was the best thing I did for the last probably 6 months or so at least, I haven't had an issue with it since. It's gonna sound so small, but, like, I have my photo station here, and then my trestle table over in the other corner of the room where I'd have my box and my poly bags and stuff to put stuff in or whatever. And all I did was pick up, just off the side of a road, a little table and brought that next to my photo station where I could put the bags and the box. So instead of walking, 5 footsteps over to the other side there, I had to just turn around and do that. And that tiny little process there has just streamlined my entire process of that there. And now, instead of having behind me my tub full of stuff I've got to list, I've got a box next to me on this side where, I just pile up all my stuff there. So I could just grab it, put it on there, take my photos, put it to the next side. And, like, that just sounds tiny, and it probably saves me, 10 seconds of listing. But over the course of days and days and weeks and months and that kind of thing, that just makes the whole process so much easier for me. And I don't hate taking photos as much.
That's what I was just about to ask you. I bet you don't hate doing it as much now that you've done that.
Nowhere near it. Nowhere near it, because I can pump out, an extra 5 listings in a certain amount of time and that kind of thing. And that just makes things so much easier for me. And like I say, I don't hate doing it as much. And that's one part of the process that I don't like. So this last few weeks since I got that table, I've absolutely loved being a reseller because my processes are exactly where I want them to be at the moment. So it's, little things.
I think I'm a bit out of the ordinary. I actually prefer listing. I hate sourcing. I'd rather the stuff come to me. And like photos, if I could outsource them to the kids, if they get taken to the quality I expect them to, I'd pay them just to take the photos and do them.
Yeah, but the reality is, though, with photos, I don't, it'd be very rare that you get someone that you feel takes, and I wouldn't care whether it's an adult or a kid, that takes photos as good as you think they should be. And that, you know, that's just a thing, I reckon. You have to be accepting of the fact they're not going to be.
No, that's right. Like I said, that to be brutally honest, last year I diversified a little bit into clothing, right? And I burnt myself so far on clothing. And another thing that I would say is don't bite off more than you can chew. Like I've got like a clothing death pile that needs to be listed, needs to be photographed. It's all been washed and it's all prepared to go, but I don't enjoy that. And this is what goes back to what we were saying before is, enlist what you enjoy. Sell what you enjoy. Sell what you enjoy, but what you can actually source. Like if you can only source jeans, well, tough luck. Becoming is not for yourself. Not for you if you don't like selling jeans, but that you need to, I suppose, enjoy going to work, or because it's going to come very quickly into a job, and and you've got all the other things you got to take into consideration as well. And I did forget to mention that you got to take care of admin and postage and all these different things, not just listings, but that's something. I suppose that procedures, policies, and and enjoying what you did, like Blake was saying with his little table that he's picked up, has made it a lot easier. But before I move into the podcast.
Can I just make one more point for people that live on their own? Is I also believe, and I have been through this, so I'm going to say I know this from experience. If you're living on your own, it's very easy to let your reselling business take over your whole house.
Yep.
And I'm going to say, like, make sure that you keep some parts of your house that aren't. I've taken over the majority of my house, probably. Now, it's probably about 50-50, I reckon, if I worked it out, because I've got one room as a photo room, one as a postage room, and then I've got a storage room, and then I've got my eBay room. But now, my lounge room was full of books at one stage, and a big pile of clothes on the couch and all that sort of stuff. And that is very wearing, because if you walk out of your work area and you've got that, you've got to look at that. Like, it just hits you like a ton of bricks. And if you want to get depressed, that's a good way to go about it.
It's the same way about like with your, if you have a job or whatever, you try not to bring your job home. You try not to bring your work home if you have a tough day or something. If your whole house is reselling, you have a tough day reselling, you're going to just be like feeling like you're always at work. And you're not going to be happy. You need to get some sort of separation.
Yeah, and you do. And like the amount of times that Mrs. Octopus has screamed at me because I've got Skylanders on the coffee table waiting to be put away, or bagged and tagged and all these sort of things. So Granny's 100% correct. But we've got 2 minutes. Granny, quick podcast. What podcast of the week?
Well, look, I'm going to say, and I know it's a reselling one, but I'm going to say the eBay Power Hour. Make sure you watch this week's episode. It's brilliant.
They're going to try and cut Blake's grass with his Pure Hustle podcast.
No.
I do enjoy John and Josh's podcast. So it's definitely recommended. Very, very topical and very in depth.
You watched today, one they released today?
I haven't. I was halfway through it before I started this.
Very good.
Blake, your turn.
I'd say the Reselling Podcast Ever would be my favourite. I actually, because I'm a clothing reseller and stuff, a lot of you might know Dixon's Pickens or whatever, I actually quite enjoy his live stream thing he does every now and then, the Good Pickens podcast or whatever with his co-hosts. I find that quite entertaining. Yeah, that's the one I like this week.
I've seen Dixon Pickens a couple of times. I'll have to reach out. But mine, a bit off out there again, following on from last week, is stuff they don't want you to know. So it's more... not so much conspiracy theories, but more the obscure histories and all the different things. So, like,
that's the channel name?
Yeah, so it's not on YouTube. I think it's actually on Apple Podcasts. But yes, the stuff they don't want you to know.
It is on YouTube.
Oh, okay, it's on YouTube. I haven't checked it, but that's off the back of what we suggested last week, which was Operation Midnight Climax. So it's the same person that hosts that. Does this one. That's enough, Blake. That's enough out of you. Go back to your 50 Shades of Grey. But anyway, it's definitely good. Like, it's really interesting. So it's a lot of that obscure history and a lot of government cover-ups, I suppose. And it's not like conspiracy theories. It's more like actual physical based documents and all those different things that would kind of make yourself, holy crap. So but anyway, that's all we...
so they say, from UFOs to psychic powers, ghosts and government cover-ups, history is riddled with unexplained events, but how can we separate the fact from the fiction? Stuff they don't want you to know has delved into the murky world of everything from cults to lost cosmonauts and allegations of the paranormal, applying critical thinking to the world's most prevalent theories and, more often than not, discovering the grains of truth hidden in the heart of paranoia. Woohoo! That sounds good. My cup of tea.
Actually, yeah, it's really good. But anyway, that's all we've got time for again this week. We'll catch you. I might be back from Fiji next week. We'll see how we go. But anyway, thank you, Blaine. Thank you, Freddie.
Bye.
Check out their respective channels. Bye.